Hi everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Shine a Light International Women's Month. I'm Cherise Hilton, Design and Implementation Executive, and I'm delighted to be joined by Deb Hayes. Hi, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. So for those that don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so my name's Deborah. Everyone calls me Deb, which I prefer. What can I tell you about myself? So I've got a big birthday this year, turning 40. So I'm a real child of the 80s.
Love that.
I was looking yesterday, because when the question came up about tell me about yourself, I was thinking fun facts about being born in the 80s, and I realised that song Eye of the Tiger was number one when I was born. That's a great one,
You have
right?
to play that for the
That's a good one. But yeah, I was born in the UK, but I've been really lucky. I've travelled and lived abroad. So I lived in New Zealand for a while, which was incredible. And I've been all over. Like, travel's my absolute passion. So I've been travelling to Mumbai, into India, all those kind of places. It's been incredible. But yeah, started at Samsung on a 6-month contract 5 years ago. So I'm still here.
Still here, they couldn't keep you away.
Couldn't keep me away, but yeah.
Love that. And where would you say is, out of interest, I didn't know you travelled so much, where would you say is your favourite place that you've travelled to?
Definitely got to be India. I'd love to say New Zealand because that's where I lived for a little while, but yeah, definitely Asia and all those places there. Just the different cultures, the foods, the smells. It's like an attack on the senses. Everyone's so busy doing business. Yeah, it's such a pleasure to be out there. So I'd live there if I could.
Amazing.
It's not that easy.
So for those that don't know, just remind us about your role in Samsung and how you got into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been head of B2B Marketing now for a few years. It's been a bit of a growth role. I came as a contractor and then I sort of moved around, did a little bit of sidestepping and then stepped up into this leadership role about 3 years ago. But I've always loved tech. I sort of grew up in a very techie house. I think I was given a computer before I was given my first book. And so it was always a natural progression for me to follow that. But I always loved English, the English language. And so when I was thinking about what I was going to do when I grew up, other than being a magician or a fireman or a firewoman, I thought tech's the way to go. And so I naturally put tech and English together and I became marketing at one of the tech companies. So that's how I got here.
And what would you say is the biggest experience that you've had throughout your career? Any learning curves that you've experienced?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as you go through, there's all sorts of different experiences and learning curves. I think mostly from people, particularly the mentors that I've had over the years. I've been really, really fortunate with those, whether that's sort of at a senior level or my peers or the people who work for me, learning about those. But it's been a bit of a, my first job was in publishing, which was back when people read actual books. And I was
scrolling through
No,
Instagram.
there was no scroll. And I was sort of part of that paradigm shift where they were moving everything onto tech and everything was starting to become about, you could buy a chapter of a book rather than having to buy the whole thing. And I sort of moved around a little bit within publishing and then, sort of always gravitated back towards that technology piece. But I've had some hilarious jobs as well. So I used to work for a boxer, heavyweight boxer. His name's David Tour. And I was his runner. I used to say I was his personal assistant. I think that was 2 levels up from me. But all of these experiences have kind of led me to where I am today, whether it's working for a completely different type of person, like an international heavyweight boxer, absolutely incredible.
It's amazing, yeah.
Working right in publishing, where, I worked in marketing and I was convinced, I was a bit cocky when I came out of university, thinking that, all people do in marketing departments is sit around and do SWOT analysis. Like, they really don't. I haven't done a SWOT analysis in 20 years. But it's all of those experiences that have kind of led me into the role that I'm in today. So I've been very fortunate.
Amazing. I love that you've done so much. You've had such a variety of experience. You can't buy it, right? From the heavyweight boxer right through to what you're doing now. It's just absolutely incredible. So this year's theme of International Women's Day is Break the Bias. So it's all about championing gender equality. What would you say is your experience of bias and your earliest memory?
So I think I was aware of bias from a very, very young age, not necessarily gender equality, but I remember I must have been about 5 or 6 and I was in a fast food chain. It was a Wimpy bar or something brilliant for the 80s in the UK. And I was with my mother, and my mum's Irish. She's from Southern Ireland. She has the most beautiful, rich Irish accent you could ever imagine. Irish accent, yeah. And we were in the queue waiting to order our food, and a man approached us who we didn't know and asked my mother that she needed to be checked because she must have a bomb in her bag because it was the 80s during the Troubles and she was Irish. And my mum at the time was so taken aback that we left. No, at the time I was very confused. I didn't understand it because I didn't really understand that people were treated differently. And we were treated differently in that situation because we were Irish, and that just wasn't acceptable to that man at the time. But it stayed with me for a very, very long time. And I remember growing up and being very conscious of that kind of behaviour. And I think it's how she would react very different to it now. I think she'd not been in the UK particularly long at that time, and she had a child with her. But I think I've been aware of that people are different and that people are treated differently from quite a young age because of that. And I still think about it even now. When I saw these questions ahead of coming here today, I immediately thought, God, the bomb in the bag in McDonald's or whatever it was. And it affects you, and it doesn't, that sort of thing doesn't leave you, I think, but it's how you kind of react to it as you grow up a little bit.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think her reaction now, and certainly my reaction, probably would have been very different. But
do you remember what your mum's reaction was at that time?
At the time I was very young, but I think we just left. I think it was one of those things where it was so shocking and so unfortunate, and I won't swear, but it was, at the time, and I think she just wanted to get me and remove her from that situation rather than actually face it and almost challenge this. I mean, he's an idiot, absolute moron, this guy. But he got what he wanted, didn't he? Absolutely. And that's what he wanted, to intimidate.
Cause discomfort.
Yeah, and
terrible.
It did. So, yeah, that's probably my earliest memory of it.
And how would you say it's affected you and the way that you navigate those sort of situations now?
I think having been in that situation, I'm going to call it like being a white person, I think naturally, I think there are certain positive, I don't know if I can go into this here, but I want to be honest with this interview. Yeah. It's not, I don't say it's easier, but I don't think we are confronted with it if you're from an ethnic minority or if you're, a different gender or however it is. And I think what it's tried to make me do is certainly made me more accepting of differences and make me want to champion them a bit more. Even as a child, I was always very aware of bullies, and I always rushed to defend those who were not necessarily different, but you could see were a target. And it's the same. I think it's the same even at Samsung. There are certain people who are kind of under the radar, or it doesn't necessarily need to be because of gender. It could be the type of personality that you have. You can walk into a room at Samsung and there's a confidence about the people that work here. Not an arrogance necessarily, but it's like, well, we work for Samsung, we're top of the block, 5th brand in the world. There is a certain kudos, when you walk into the reception in the morning, you kind of got your flow, but not everyone is comfortable and feels that way. Yeah. And I think it's identifying that and maybe just championing those people a little bit more. Yeah,
amazing. And on the topic of Samsung, have you personally experienced any bias whilst working here?
I think, Samsung very naturally has a very rich demographic in one area, shall we say. And a lot of the time I walk into a room and there are 12 men looking at me. And no matter what you say, as a woman, when you walk into that room, it's tough because women and men are different, and you have to not adapt to your behaviour necessarily, but I do sometimes feel very intimidated because it's that divide. And no matter what you say, it's an invisible divide, but it's there. And most meetings I walk into, I'm the only female in the room. Most sessions I present at, I'm the only female in the room. And there's a lot of pressure because I want to be a positive influence for the women working at Samsung to say, actually, you can get into a leadership role. You do have a voice in this room, irrespective of your gender. And it's about, there are certain people that you can identify who will definitely support you with that. I have a couple of mentors at Samsung who, if I kind of say, look, I feel really uncomfortable in this situation because I feel like I'm not being heard, or I feel that there is a certain behaviour with a certain type of group that I will never infiltrate because I'm a woman. Help me break into that, help me break that mould. And so I think it is just, identifying your allies and being brave. Yeah. And I think you have to be as a woman at Samsung because we need more of us. We're amazing. We get the stuff done, right? So
come to us to get it done.
Yes, you want something done, come to the women.
Absolutely. And on that topic of being able to talk to someone, I think it's so important to know that you've got that safe haven to go to, and being able to create that safe haven and space. I think being comfortable in that space and knowing that you can talk to someone and open up about any sort of experiences that you're having is absolutely incredible, which is why I think Women at Samsung in particular is such a great ERG to have. So you mentioned role models. Do you have any personal role models that you look up to?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think this is one of the questions that you you shared with me, and I thought, right, I want to get a really clever answer to this. So I straight on Google, right? Not actually thinking about who my role models are. So Michelle Obama comes up, amazing woman. Greta, Malala. Then there was like Anne Frank was on there, Jane Austen, and I thought, yeah, like amazing. I can't not what these women have done. They're revolutionary, right? Do they make me get up in the morning? Absolutely not. And I think the reason why is that I've surrounded myself with strong female role models, and I don't know whether it's I gravitate towards them or they gravitate towards me, or a bit of both. You know, I mentioned my mother earlier on to you. She's like this 5 foot tiny little thing, but she's the toughest, most resilient woman I've ever met in my life, and she has faced adversity, and she's just developed and progressed herself, whether it's through education or it's through her family values or anything. And she just and I look at her now, she's like 70 odd, and she's bombing around in her massive car and her massive sunglasses, still solving all my problems. And I think that's a role model. And I look at my friend, she's 45, she's just dumped all of her life and moved to America for 2 years on her own.
Fearless.
Just fearless, that's the word. Fearless. And so I think if I'm looking for role models, I don't really have to look too far. And yeah, there's definitely, there's people in the industry, in the media that I think, okay, that's pretty cool. I think Natalie Portman, I absolutely love her. I don't know whether it's just because she's probably the most beautiful woman on the planet. Is that a reason to have her as a role model?
Absolutely.
I don't know. But yeah, I think it's more close to home.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And for you yourself, do you have any empowering yes moments where you absolutely think, I nailed that?
I think, travel, I think for me is probably where I get those real moments of euphoria. I would love to say that it was at work, and there have been times that, when you've promoted or when you got, go and work for a big brand and things like that. But that's almost a rite of passage. If you work hard and you go for it and you be brave, those opportunities will, hopefully present themselves. But I think for traveling, you used the word fearless earlier, and that's absolutely right. It's about being brave. And I was 28, I was really bored. I think I had Peter Pan syndrome because all of my friends were starting to settle down and have children and get married, and I thought, this is not what I want at all. So I sold my flat, sold my car, sold everything, and I just booked one flight and went to New Zealand by myself, sort of feeling slightly nauseous on the plane at Heathrow.
I can imagine
Nothing to do with Essex, just like, what am I doing? But it was the biggest experience of my life. Amazing. And I still sit here, it was 10, 15 years ago, and I still sit here and talk about it. So I think that was a pivotal, brave, fearless moment for me.
Amazing. Love that for you. No, really, because the thing is, a lot of women, I was having a chat with my mum about this yesterday, a lot of women sort of err on the edge of caution. Yeah. And she sort of attributed that to being quite selfless, in that she loves to care for other people and not really put herself first. And it was a situation where for you in that particular moment, you were like, no, I'm putting me first. I'm going to choose me, and I'm going to do this for me. And I think it's amazing that you still attribute a lot of your courageousness to that moment, which is absolutely incredible. So we're going to finish off with some quick fire questions.
Okay, I'm ready.
What advice would you give to your younger self?
Oh, be brave.
Be brave.
Say yes. Yeah. Just go for it. I think it's better to, I know it's a bit of a cliche, but it's better to regret something that you did rather than say, almost like, I wish I'd done it. So yeah, be brave, go for it.
I wish I had that when I was young. Okay, next one. What advice would you give to any women or young girls looking to get into B2B marketing?
Do it. We need you. I think it's marketing. We're very lucky. Lots of great women, lots of great experience. Within Samsung, I think it's a slightly different story. And so you are needed. We want your opinions and your attitudes and the way you approach things. So do it, not just because it's something that you want, but it's something that a brand like Samsung actually needs. I think just do it. Be brave.
Be brave. Feeds back to the first one.
It is. It keeps blending back in, doesn't it? I'm going to get a T-shirt with fearless written on it when I leave here.
And last one, in 3 words, what does gender equality mean to you?
It's fair game, I think would be the kind of the sentence. It's fair game. I think if we could ever be in a situation where opportunities were open to everybody, regardless of gender, nationality, race, whatever, sexuality, anything like that, it doesn't make any difference. If you're bright and you work hard and you want to do well, it's fair game.
Amazing. Love it. Thanks, Deb, so much for joining us in the first episode of Shine a Light International Women's Month. Don't forget to check us out for more episodes coming soon.